The recording is in progress.
Moderator. Moderator, you can go ahead.
Good 4 p.m. from Nigeria here. We welcome
Okay,
you all to.
Dr. Kalima is finally unmuted. I'm sorry to interject.
All right.
Okay, so every year on the 24th of March, the International Day of the Right of the Truth concerning gross human rights violation and for the dignity of victims is celebrated. Tribute is paid internationally to the memory of Monsignor Oscar Arnolfo Romeo, who was assassinated on this day, March 24th, 1980. The right to the truth is all people, everybody needs. We want to get involved. We want to know what really happened this day. We want to know what is happening all over the world. So we have victims and related and relatives of victims involving in kidnapping, forcing, disappearances, kidnapping of minors, and tortures. All we demand is just the right to know the truth of all these stories, of these things, of these illful acts going on in this over the world, all over the world. This is the question we all ask. To do justice, we have so many wonderful speakers in the house to do justice to all we have said so far. But before I continue, let me introduce the host, Dr. Ambassador Chaplain James Obatunde, founder of WHOPE, World Humanitarian Organization for Peace and Equity. Also the provost of Redmond College of Chaplains, African Vice President, ICANN Community Development Foundation. More also, he's a member of the Nigerian Police Force, Deputy Superintendent and Supremacy Police. His love for humanity and agitation for human rights is beyond boundaries. Shortly, we will hear from him, our Honorable President. So I'll start by introducing the speaker and our guests in the house. We have two wonderful speakers today. Dr. Kalima F. Abdul Qudus is one of our speakers and wonderful speakers who will do justice to all these topics we have today. We have Dr. Aljuman Zaid, and we have Dr. Irwan Lucille. And we'd like to welcome you, our guests in the house. We have His Royal Highness Andrew E.M.G. Yeah, very welcome, sir. We have Juliet Miabo, we have Ahmad Salim, Ali Rahman, Carlos Richard. We have Dr. Kalim Abdul Qudus once again. We welcome you, Mark. Dr. Irwan Lucille, we welcome you too, sir. We have Juliet Miabo, we have Lloyd Helfeti. Sorry for my pronunciation. If I'm wrong, please you can correct me. We have Nalia Yevar. We have Patrick. We have Mr. Patrick in the house. We have Suleiman Dada. We have Madamu. We have Yemisi Adeleye. We have Dr. Yewande. So I'd like to proceed to the next agenda here. And I would like to call on my honorable doctor, the founder of World Humanitarian Organization for Peace and Equity, Dr. James Obatunde, for the opening speech, for the welcoming speech. Over to you, Doctor. Doctor, can you hear me, sir?
Thank you so much. I can hear you. So can you hear me too?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you so much. This is a very much welcome to everyone that is joining us today in this program. My name is Ambassador Dr. James Messi Obatunde, and that's my name. I am the Chief Executive Officer of World Humanitarian Organization for Peace and Equity, and as well I'm the host of this program, the International Day for the Right to the Truth concerning the gross human rights dignity of victims. Today we want to deliberate on this, and that's why we are having as special guest of honor the speakers from across the globe, in India, there in United States, and other countries as well that have joined us today to do justice to this. United Nations International Days are very unique. You know, they are memorable days, but this particular one we have gathered here today concerning the rights to the truth, concerning the gross human rights violations and the dignity of victims are very important. And that is why we are here. It concerns all the leaders in the judicial system, in the government, the religious setting. So it concerns everyone. Even starting from the parents at home, the teachers in schools, it concerns everyone because we must know and understand the rights of the people, we are governing, or the people working under us. We must know their right. And the judiciary session, we must understand that before a judgment could be served, we must really know the truth about the matter, the situation. So it is very important. And that is why we are here to do justice to this. I would like to go back to the moderator to call the speakers for today to speak on this same topic. So officially, I want to welcome everyone again that has joined us here in this program from all over the world. So I say welcome to you all. So thank you as we proceed into this program. So thank you so much. Over to you, the moderator, please.
Ambassador James, I asked the moderator to check her microphone because her presentation at the beginning was a bit choppy. So could she please check her microphone and if necessary, go out and come back in so we can hear her clearly. But let us see if we can hear her clearly now.
Okay. Please, let the moderator go on, please. Moderator, please, you can proceed with the speakers, please.
Recording in progress.
Do we still have the moderator here?
I don't see her name, but another James Mercy came back in.
Okay. I think we have to go on with our program. Like we have to call the first speaker for today, since we don't have Dr. Ajuman Zaidi here with us now. So we are going to call Dr. Kalima. Please, can you kindly unmute yourself? Dr. Kalima, and we can help you from here. To
I'm
unmute
here.
Okay, all right.
Here.
Please, could you simply introduce yourself to the house before you proceed further in your presentation? So thank you for coming.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me. As you mentioned earlier, and the host mentioned before she got disconnected, I'm Dr. Kalima Fatima Abdul Qudus, PhD, President of the SAFE Campaign NGO in special consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, New York, USA headquarters. Alternatively, I'm also the Vice President of the Dame Complex, Bangladesh, and I represent the U.S. The World Secretary General directly and up for deputy position very soon in the near election. The Safe Campaign offers services in primary, yet not in exclusivity, to people of color who are marginalized by systemic disenfranchisement worldwide. I'm responsible for all of Africa, Caribbean islands, Asia, some Middle Eastern territories, Canada, Mexico, and South America. We were the program that ended the war in South Sudan.
Well, congratulations and thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much. What questions can I answer for you?
Well, now's the time for your presentation. We're at your convenience.
Oh, I mean, I see things are kind of going opposite because we lost the host. So I just didn't want to dive in there and be disrespectful. But where it comes to the crimes against humanity worldwide, I'm definitely fighting that. From the perspective I come from, being an American Black woman, second generation African American Muslim, post the assassination of Malcolm X, aka El-Haj Malik Abdul Shabazz, I knew that the problem had to be solved. And when I was first applying for the United Nations, I was kind of skeptical because I felt like all we know here in America is the word no, no support, no real understanding of who we are. And we just really felt like orphaned or adopted children. So I knew I had to get in there and teach our world that unless you are a second generation African American Muslim, Black woman in leadership, or a Black person in America, and a woman at that, standing in the shoes that we stand in with the bias and treatment that we face for so many hundreds of years, I knew that I had to be the one to provide the services. For so many years, we allowed others to tell us what we needed, and the problems weren't being solved. So I knew it had to be from somebody who actually understood the trial and the tribulations and the problems and the automatic quagmire set up to see us fail. So I went right to Nigeria to ask for help. That was the first African country I went to. I was receiving death threats for trying to help Black people. And I went to Africa and asked for support because I knew Nigeria was the first place to sell us into slavery. I felt like we could mend those fences by the process that the Safe Campaign had to offer and become friends again, love one another, take ownership, and stop whining about it and just do something to make it better moving forward. But with that modus operandi that I had, it offended a lot of people. But I don't fear anything but God, so he inspired me what to do. And I knew that I have thicker skin from New York. I don't care what they talk about me, negatives. I knew I had to roll up my sleeves and make it happen. At the time, I was all by myself. I didn't realize that there were so many other people in the world that felt like I felt. And the more I exposed the Safe Campaign to the world, of the woodwork to help me. And that made me very happy to see that. And so I have a support system, a staff of 25 volunteers worldwide that support the Safe Campaign. We're about to open satellite offices in each of those areas so that they can provide supports in their own communities under the name of Safe Campaign to help them to change those things in our world, the biases, the human catastrophic assaults and abuse on humans, the natural God-given right to exist, to live in peace, to eat well, to sleep on a clean bed, drink clean water, to travel when they want to, not be looked down upon as beneath or less than anyone else is. At the time, I'm also
requesting a separate flag for our people here in the USA, because we're not necessarily African and we're not necessarily American. We have our own culture that has been overlooked, and our children don't have anywhere to feel proud about. You know, other people from other countries say, oh yeah, I'm from this country or that country, and they feel proud to say that, but we feel lost. Like, who wants us? Who likes us? We didn't steal ourselves, but we become a whole different type of people by virtue of what has happened to us. And so I've been negotiating that with the UN for about 6 years. I feel like I'm closer to getting that flag put up. But what I like about it, and I told you that long version to say this to you about the human rights violations, whether they be by government or systemic, any type of way. The bottom line is the result is still the same. The people who are the poorest suffer the most. People are stepping on top of their heads as if they don't have a heart or real feelings. And we have gone in fearlessly to enforce things to be different. When I say that, I say to you that I walk into US courts and go off. I threaten judges to rip them down off their seats. This is why I get the threats that I get, but that's because you can't be a punk in this business. If you want something to change, unfortunately, people don't hear you when you say, oh, could you kindly be nice to me today? They don't hear that. But if you come in and you say, listen, I'm not tolerating anything other than X, Y, Z, and I'm gonna need that today, then now people hear you. And so that's the way that I've been approaching what changes need to be done. If there's fathers, we have a program called Fathers in Exile. US courts are known for being biased against the fathers who want to spend time with their children and give more favor to the mom. I'm not saying all fathers deserve that good kindness, but there are plenty of them that do. And they don't have the support that they need. Or if the brown-skinned brother does the same crime as a white-skinned brother does, the white-skinned brother will get a different sentencing than the brown-skinned brother. So I go in those courts, I walk people out of jail, I go in there and I fight, I send letters, whatever it takes to make those things different. But it's just me. So maybe people don't see the big difference, but we helped with when the police were laying black men on the street for no reason, pulling them over and shooting them and killing them. And then I jumped on top of that. Now you don't hear it as much. I'm sure some still exist, but we did our part to alleviate a whole lot of it. And that's kind of my perspective, is that you have to, if you believe in something so much, you can't be a punk in it. You can't be a scaredy cat. You gotta enforce what it is you want, or you take something back. It's like child psychology. The child is not listening, so you don't reward him with a piece of candy. You don't give him anything. You punish him that way without him benefiting with rewards that he doesn't deserve. And so that's basically the way that we operate, but we do so in love. We show everybody love, respect, but we command respect in return. So that's the subject matter I had for the violations for humanity. If you want me to expound on something specific, please feel free to say so, and I will go in that direction.
Well, thank you. I'd like to ask our audience too, if they be so kind as to put their questions or comments in the chat as we go along, so that we
I
can.
can't hear you. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Prince Andrew.
Everybody was
The
loud.
speaker is a bit mute.
I'm not hearing you at all.
Yes, the speaker, we do hear you, although you're coming in very distorted. We can hear you, but not as clearly as we like. Can you hear us?
Okay. I'm just gonna try it this way.
I took it off of the surround sound so that I could hear you.
That's much more clear. Thank you so much.
Now, what were you saying? You had a question for me?
I was just suggesting to the audience, if they were to choose to put their questions or comments in the chat for you, or either raise their hands to let us know that they would like to make a comment or question. So the floor is open for any comments or questions about the presentation. And thank you so very much. I'm here in Los Angeles, California. I was born in Macon, Georgia. So all the things you know or are speaking about, I know well about them. But I'll open the floor up to the guests and audience for any questions.
There was a gentleman by the name of Yehinde. He sent a question inside of the chat to me. May I please have an opportunity to address his question?
Of course, please go right ahead. And I see other hands are being raised too. Go right ahead.
He says, great talk, Dr. Kalima, proud of your work. Are you able to translate medical articles to Arabic language to prevent language barriers? Dr. Yuwande, Director, General Operations and Diaspora, African Diaspora in Europe. To answer your question, Yuwande, this is a perfect question. And I don't want to come off to sound like I am the connoisseur of all things. But what I will say to you is that due to my spiritual nature, Almighty has put me in a position and given me every single thing a human being would ever need in their lifetime. He's put it in my hand, and I'm able to get you whatever it is you ask for. I have a gentleman who came to me. He was offered a lot of money to do what you're asking directly from Google. Google wanted to buy it from him, but he didn't take it because they were coming off in a way to kill people. It's almost like you get so high up, you got so much money, and the only thing you think of is what you can do to destroy people. And he said it was the big families like the Rothschilds and all of them involved in getting that from him. He declined the offer and came to me to ask me, is there anybody that would invest in it? So what you're asking to get done, he can actually do it for you. And if you're interested in that, I can make that connection. You can join me anytime in WhatsApp. Please note, everybody, I do not take live calls without appointments. We all have a lot that we know, and sometimes they talk my ears off to death. And there's only 24 hours in a day. So I can't spend that kind of time on a phone call, but I talk to over 300 people a day in WhatsApp doing chats and voice notes. And those work very well because you can replay the voice note later and redigest whatever it is that I've said. So I hope I've answered your question, Yuwande, did I?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Khalid. I actually had my doctorate at California Intercontinental University. So I had my doctorate in healthcare management, and I'm a member, soon to be a fellow of the American College of Health Executives. So I'm making medical articles and literature materials because of our patients. We need our nurses to be able to speak Arabic language, at least before the certified medical translator arrives. So I'm training healthcare workers on multiple language proficiency. So it's going to be presented to American College of Health Executive as a Congress recommendation for all healthcare workers must learn at least one language other than English for incoming medical students. Thank you very much. On behalf of International Human Rights Corporation, Commission African Diaspora, and my global president is Queen Aminata, Queen of Ghana Fulani, and I'm also a member of the Governing Council of WHOPE. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, get the information from James, how to reach me, and I'll take it from there. I'll give you the gentleman. He's also a very high profile medical doctor. And I think you guys can do really well with it together. So I'll be happy to make the connection, okay?
Okay.
So we have Mr. Rob Lloyd raising up his hand. Can we have you, Lloyd? Can we have your question, please?
Yes, hello, morning.
Good morning.
So I heard you mention the SAFE campaign. So I don't know anything about that. Perhaps you could go into some more details about what that is.
Okay, and I'll be happy to send you the profile. It's a one sheet profile that I can send to James to share it with everybody. But in short, the SAFE campaign is a program that provides full service supports in primary, but not in exclusivity, to people of color who are marginalized by systemic disenfranchisement worldwide. So I have helped in so many countries, not just the USA, but in other countries. And as I mentioned earlier, we're the program that stopped the more than 30-year war in South Sudan. In result of that, they have given me the First Lady title to 6 states, including Kosti, Darfur, Red, White, and Blue Nile areas, and Kordofan. And so, in other words, we are now going to economically develop those areas, beginning with an area called the Sharagat, which is Tijani Muslims, Sufi Muslims. They have asked that we come in first, and I'm dealing with the Ministry of Finance there to use their natural resources to rebuild the area. But I've helped when the UN contacted me to prevent a war in Sri Lanka, for instance. And when Qatar called me because Donald Trump did the Middle Eastern tour with the Saudis and was attempting to rip off Sudan from being the last cash cow with the Bank of Khartoum's gold bullion, oil, and colored diamonds. And he was trying to convince the world that Sudan was Arab, and the Saudis joined him to do it. And I jumped in there on top of their heads and put an end to it, telling them that Sudan is my territory because I take care of Africa, and you won't get a dime unless you come through me anyway. So they disappeared. All of a sudden, the tour ended, Middle Eastern tour ended, but not before some of the relics from Ethiopia were stolen and given to Trump. So that's a whole different other story. But that's just kind of an example of the nature of what we do. Like I mentioned earlier, I get complaints from people all day long about bias and harassment, especially for Black people in America. And I simply contact where the person is filing a complaint, who they're filing it from. And I contact them personally, whether by phone call or in writing, to ask them for an explanation of that behavior. Generally, I would say about 95% of the time, the drama stops. I've been helping to bring in about 10,000 Afghani people from the Taliban's hold on them there. We have 250,000 acres with a very small hotel on it in Nevada. There's an imam in New Mexico that has, I think he said he has 5,000 orphan children from there. He wanted to merge his care for them to our our camp in Nevada. It's Wells, Nevada. And so we've been bringing people in from Afghanistan as well to assist with the trauma that they're dealing with. That's been very difficult because the Taliban shut down the airlines and we don't have the transportation, and a lot of the people don't even have money to sponsor themselves. So it's a whole lot with it, but this is the nature. Even though it's a Black program, the SAFE campaign was established because there was no program helping Black people in America to be protected from just being brown skin, because that's really all it was. And nobody had anything in place, even though we've heard about the Black Entertainment Television, NAACP and all that. They did what they did for what happened at that time, but then they became watered down when it came to what we need today. It's almost as if they were straddling the fence of wanting to fit in with, for lack of a better term, with white America, liking them. They want to be liked today. But the problem is still what it was before. That means somebody's dropping the ball in between. And then I stepped in, which is why my life was threatened, because I'm going against people who felt like they've had this strong reputation for a very long time doing certain things. And they took it as if I was trying to knock down what they've done, but that's not what I'm doing.
what I'm doing is filling that empty gap, because I don't care if I fit in. That's just Dr. Klima's personality. I don't care if nobody likes me. That's the thing. A lot of people want to be liked by somebody. I just want to do what's right. I want to do the right thing. And if that means that I can't be your friend and you don't like me because I want to be firm in what has to happen in order for these changes to occur, then I just don't have any friends, because I'm not going to change who I am in righteousness so that you can like me. It's not about that. The SAFE campaign is very strong. We're a beast and we don't play. We love you. We love all over you. But at the same time, if the work is not getting done, you're definitely going to hear that from me. And you got to know that creates problems sometimes. And I don't care how nicely I say it, how kind I am about doing it. Some people just get offended when you don't do what they want you to do. That's just what it is. You can be in high school, they do that. You don't click with this certain group, then nobody likes you over there. But I've never cared about that. I'm sticking to what has to happen for brown people worldwide. I am sick and tired of when I see brown people come from India, for instance, here in America. This is just an example, nothing personal. But they're brown as me, but feeling better than I am and treated better than I am. And there's something wrong with that. I don't care how you want to look at that. Something's really wrong with that, because I'm world traveled. So I know for a fact in their country, the browner Indians are looked at as the niggas in America. But they don't tell us that when they come here. They act like they're better than us when they come. I am in a position to put an end to that crap. I'm done with it, because the Lord created all of us in uniqueness. And I personally wouldn't want to live in a world where everybody looked like iRobot. I like the variety, and variety is the spice of life. So I appreciate, my whole family is the United Nations. Everybody's married into some other culture in my family. And I'm not going to get caught up in the crap that people are doing based on a pigmentation in the skin. So I want to let that go. There is no such thing as the curse of Ham. Let's be clear on that too. God didn't punish somebody because they were brown. He created everybody. So I'm not caught up in that crap. What I'm doing is righteousness for all people, period. I may not agree with your way of life or whatever that you choose for you, but if it is not offended or harmed me personally, and you respect me, the rest of that is between you and your creator. I don't have time for the rest of the stuff. So that's what Safe Campaign is. We're a full righteous program helping all people, but in primary, people of color who did not have the support worldwide. We created the support for them.
Okay.
All right,
Okay,
thank you
thank
very
you so
much.
much. All right. All right.
As we hear from her, she said she just wants to do what is right, and I think we all should emulate that as well. We really do need that as humans. We should all care. We shouldn't care what people want us to be, but let us do what is right. And her business is being our creator. Most definitely, we all know at the end of our life, we only have one person to be accounted to, and which is our creator. Thank you very much for that great insight. We also have Prophet Anya who raising up her hand to have a question for us. Can we have you, Dr. Prophet Anya?
Yes, well, what I wanted to say, can you hear me?
Please introduce yourself first, because the audience doesn't know who you are. So we have a global audience. Please introduce yourself before you make your comment or question. Thank you.
Okay, this is Prophet Anyanwu Cox, and I'm in United States of America in Wichita, Kansas. I'm a part of several organizations, the 400 Years of African American History Commission, the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent, the Working Group, and the National Black Council of Elders, and several other organizations. I wanted to say to Dr. And my passions, I'll say, is health equity, which actually involves health equity from the standpoint of the opportunity to engage in traditional medicine or complementary, alternative, and integrative medicine, rather being kind of pressed into the pharmaceutical industry for all things. So, and also the permanent form I had some questions about, but I know clearly from what you've described, and let me say this for Prince Andrew as well as Madam Juliet, that brought it to my attention that this was going on this morning. I'm very grateful. This was quite a presentation. It was like a sermon for me because it encourages me and lets me know that you don't have to step back when you are outspoken and you don't have that soft, tender disposition going forth. So that was very encouraging. So I really would like to know how you mentioned how to get in touch with you. It's understandable that everybody on the planet is trying to reach you. So getting into the WhatsApp is someone is going to put your contact information where we can at least send some questions or something that you can respond to. Is that the plan? I don't know who's.
Sure. I was saying that James Mercy, Ambassador James, invited me to speak. So I was thinking the easiest way is that he speaks to me every day in WhatsApp. That you can contact him for my info, because I just didn't want to hold anybody up, So it was, let me just let you guys contact him after. Feel free to send me whatever you want. I'm on WhatsApp 24 hours a day, as I mentioned earlier, speaking to over 300 people, and not just speaking to people, but doing business, because the president and vice president of any nonprofit, and you know this, I'm sure, has to raise funds. I personally do not take grants and donations for the SAFE campaign, because that's been our downfall as brown people. As soon as we see the almighty dollar bill, then we will compromise whatever it is that we truly believe in to get that money. But see, they can't buy me. I cannot be bought. I can make my own money. I know how to trade, and I'd rather trade than to take yours and then you tell me how to not help my people again. I'm not doing that. So you keep your money. I'll raise my own funds, create my own foundation, and I will take care of the needy who come to me under our modus operandi needing support, and I will fund it from our foundation. And that's how I do it. So you may feel free anytime to send something to me in WhatsApp. As I mentioned, you can go through Mr. Mercy and he will get you directly to me.
Understood. And it's absolutely so. I need to find out who that is. And everything you say, I totally agree. I just, because of what I've been looking for in terms of benefiting of people of African descent in America and any place on the planet, it's in your voice. So there must be a way to, and I know you have a network for us to be able to connect kind of broadly in with some of the people, because it's so desperately needed.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so very much, Prophet. We do have other hands raised.
No, I understand. So, but Andrew, can you tell me, put in the chat who Ambassador James Mercy is, so I'll at least be able to reach out again. Thank you so much.
I'll connect you directly.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. We have two speakers who are hanging on for us. So we'll take just one more question. We'd like you to drop your question in the comment section. Please drop your question in the comment section. We'll just take one more question, then with all the rest, please, from now. Can you put your questions in the comment section? We'll take Nadia Suleiman now. So Nadia Suleiman, do we have?
Nadia, I believe you were called.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please introduce yourself and then make your comment or question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Andrew. Hi, everybody. Nahla Sulaiman, Dr. Nahla Sulaiman from Sudan. I'm COVID-19 TOT for health secure worker, IBC case management, and vaccination and critical care units. My concern regarding the human rights, as Dr. Kalima mentioned, that it is affecting all over the life as a holistic. For us as a healthcare worker and mainly frontline during the COVID-19 and still ongoing, still some countries lacking the vaccine, still some countries.
Nalia, please ask your question or comment. Thank you.
Okay. Regarding the primary health care, as Dr. Karima specialized in safe campaign that will be for holistic life for all the nation or the refugees or who are homeless. My concern regarding the health system inside the campaign, Dr. Kalima. So what's your future plan for that? Thank you.
When it comes to healthcare, I want to be really clear about that. For me, the SAFE campaign focuses on every lifestyle need for every human being, not just pinpointed to health. We personally, when the UN sent us an invitation to come back with the ground passes that they banned them when COVID happened, nobody could get the ground passes. We just received emails and I've been in negotiations with them about their intention with those COVID vaccinations. We don't believe in them, okay? I have more knowledge than the general public would have about those vaccinations and what they do, and they're absolutely unnecessary. But those are all my findings and my position on it. So my entire staff would not get those vaccinations. We vowed to not even show up at the UN at all since they wanted us to have the vaccination to come. And then I wrote the UN and explained to them that I am very surprised. I said, the Lord told me in comas that I have to come and save the United Nations from itself. And I'm telling you right now that you should be ashamed of yourself propagating this fabricated lie and this new side hustle with the vaccination lie of COVID and what it does coming out of China, where there wasn't one case of anybody with COVID, yet it came out of China. Those people don't catch anything, and how they prevented is sipping hot steam water. You're not telling us that because it's a hustle. It's another way to make some extra money. This is a capitalistic society. So when you're not a punk, you're going to say those things right to the UN. And I actually thought they were going to kick me out, to be honest. But I don't care about that. Even if I get kicked out, they don't own the SAFE campaign. And I can continue to do SAFE campaigns work, whether I'm with the UN or not. I'm for righteousness. The vaccination thing, we don't support it, Sister Nala. Okay? I'm never going to bring you a vaccination. It's like me being a Muslim, bringing you a plate of pork because you eat pork. I'm not going to give you pork because I know better about what pork is. Now, you can eat pork on your own, but I'm not going to buy you pork and feed you pork when I know what pork does. It's the same thing with this. I know what this vaccination does, and I'm not trying to die, face my maker, and know better about what this vaccine does. And I have been calling myself a humanitarian, and then I'm going to give it to you at the refugee camps. I'm not going to do it. Now, people have choices, as you mentioned. If they don't want to work with me because of that, they got choices. There's other NGO programs out there you can work with that'll give you the vaccine. But we're not going to do that. Now, what we do for health on our refugee camps, I have made medical doctors and natural doctors work together. And that's very unique. I make them work together because when you got one who's an excellent, the medical doctors are excellent to find a diagnose, okay? Natural doctors find the cure. When you got the two working together, you're doing what's right for human beings because the body was designed to heal itself. And all it needs is when it falls or you do something you shouldn't do to mess it up, then you give it what it needs to re-strengthen itself. And that's our modus operandi.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please, we'd like you all to drop your questions. We'd like you all to drop your questions in the chat box. Please drop your questions in the chat box. So we'll be taking the next speaker, who's Dr. Arjuman Zaidi. But before that, we have some people who welcome them.
Moderator, please, can you hear me? Please, for the purpose of Dr. Zaidi from India, please, if she's here with us, because she's already about 2 a.m. over there, if we can allow her to talk briefly, and we'll consider her for that, if she's here with us. Dr. Zaidi, please.
Yes,
Yes.
All
Can
right,
you hear
thank you
me?
so much for coming over. Yes, we can see you and we can hear you.
Yeah. So very warm greetings from India to all of you. I'm really, really honored to get this opportunity to speak to you all eminent personalities. I'm Dr. Arjuman Zaidi. I'm President of Youth for Human Rights India. I'm Director of St. Xavier's Convent School. And I'm Head of UP and Uttarakhand for United Nations Global Compact. As we talk about human rights, you know, in way back, if we go in 1945 about the Second World War, and the Second World War finishes in 48, and then everybody decided after so much destruction, devastation, and loss of human life, millions of people died, lot of harm to mental health, physical health. So after that, everybody decided that nothing is good when we fight, when we have wars. I'm really, really very sad and hurt to hear about the episode of war happening right now in Ukraine, you know, because after so much lessons learning after the Second World War, even if we all mankind do not understand the value of human rights, it's really sad. It's really sad. So first of all, I would like to appeal the President of Ukraine and President Putin, you know, to have a consideration of tripartite talks, and peace talks should be initiated, and this war should be stopped immediately. This is the need of the hour. So many innocent women, so many innocent children and men, they are suffering because of this war. So I totally condemn this as a fight, as a war, and I promote peace. And this is the real value of human rights. So I appeal to you all as activists that we should unite together and raise a voice to stop the war anywhere happening in the world. And we should make all the honest efforts to contribute to the human life, to have a peaceful and better life in this world and make this world a better place to live. So this is my humble appeal to everyone. As we were talking, and I have heard one person talking about the self-generation of the funds. Social work is really, really very important, because if people are more socially ignited, if women are more educated, then no one can stop the progress of that nation. Where the women are educated, where the youth is ignited, and people are thinking actively about the social activism. We all people are from different backgrounds, and we are promoting peace and tolerance and human rights. So it is not only about us what we are doing, but it is about igniting others, promoting peace and tolerance among masses, promoting ideology which is carrying togetherness, which is carrying brotherhood, which is carrying the relationship of different countries in a better way, where we can promoting education to each other, where we are bringing each other on a better platform towards a better facilitating options. So I would like all of you together, and I want that let's all together make some unified efforts together to bring peace and harmony for everybody in our surrounding. Maybe some of us are not capable of doing this on a larger horizon, as we are little more privileged than others by the grace of God. But some of us are not that privileged that who can do things on a very larger horizon. So let us all pull together all those who are not having that capability, pull together and no one leave behind. We should work for the world unity, for the world health, for the world peace. This should be our motive, and we are doing this in a very nice way. This is the time, this is the era of COVID-19 where few of the things happened positive after the COVID-19. And one of the very important thing happened that after COVID-19, we are more closer to each other. We are trying to know more about each other. Earlier, we were not having that much time to come on the virtual platforms so frequently. So let us grab this opportunity and utilize this to the fullest and keep togetherness more intact and more effective and make a bigger impact on the world to do something greater. As I was just mentioning about creating the funds, to do anything on a larger scale, we need really funds. So my suggestion is to everybody, we should be self-reliant to become a social activist. Because once you start asking for money from others, maybe some people are very generous, they can contribute to your mission, they understand your missions, they have similar kind of thoughts, but some may not agree with you, they may not like your mission, or maybe even if they like, they are not in a position to finance you or to fund you for that. So the basic thing is that we should be self-reliant in terms of finances. We should have a parallel project which can become a feeder of our activities, and then we can perform the activities and motivate others to do that. If every single human being in any country starts thinking like, I will spend at least 10 minutes to do my social work. If I do a small task of social work to ignite only one person in a day, that person will become a social activist to work for the growth of country, for the growth of women, for the growth of youth. And no one can stop the progress of that country. With that mindset, let's work together. It's not limited to any country. We should not be limited to our country. The whole world, the earth, the universe is ours. And we should work for each other, immaterial of country and borders and limitations. We should work wherever the people and human beings are there. And if we can contribute, whether through virtual platforms, whether physically, or any way, if we can help each other, that will be a wonderful thing. If that thought comes in our mind, that thought is there with every human being, I am sure these wars will finish. I am sure that no one will be behind. I am sure no one will be uneducated, and everybody will be prosper, educated, and ignited. And that is the world I am imagining right now. People like you are like a fragrance, in this universe, who radiate positivity to others, and that we have to keep intact. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I am really very thankful to Brother James, who has given me this opportunity to speak in front of so many nice people. Let's make a group and work together for this world to be a better place. Thank you indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Adumani.
Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste, Brother Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Dr. Adumani? Do you all have any questions for her? Anyone?
Okay, let's go to the third speaker, please, so we can come back to the questions. They can drop their question, please.
Drop your question in the comment box, comment section. So we'll be taking our next speaker, Dr. Irwan Lucille. Dr. Irwan Lucille, are you here with us?
Yes, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we hear you clearly. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to show my slide. So I share the screen.
You may share the screen. Yes.
Okay. Can everyone see my slide?
It's beginning to share now. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for having me here. My name is Irwan Rusli. I'm with the Rusli Institute of Technology and Development here in New Jersey, USA. What we're doing basically is dealing with the technology and how they are associated with the development effort program. So a lot of them program are both social as well as technological aspect of the development. What I would like to talk today is basically about the urgent need, in my opinion, about global transparency practice. It is actually to prevent corruption, to alleviate poverty, and to address climate change issues, which we know that are very important. So let's to start with, basically, I would like to outline my talk. Basically, good transparency practice in general. I'll be then talking about corruption prevention, anti-corruption, and then poverty alleviation, and then the climate change issue. So as you notice, this is basically a global issue. So the one I'm talking about in this aspect is mostly related to global issues. Corruption by definition is dishonest or illegal behavior, especially by powerful people. And then inducement to wrongs by improper or unlawful means. And then the departure from the original or from the what is pure. Corruption, I think if we think very deeply, it is a form of human rights violation. It is the one hurting a lot of people, whether it is directly or indirectly, it's hurting a lot of people. In the grand scale or large scale corruption, this directly or indirectly has caused poverty, has caused extreme poverty, has caused social and economic marginalization of people and communities, making it lack of education and healthcare in many of these locations, communities, and then high unemployment, rising in crimes, and all end up to suffering for people in this area, the one that are poor, extreme poor. Is my slide moving? I hope. Okay, so however, the corruption is actually can be more expanded, including global warming, climate change, impact on agriculture, and therefore food insecurity, pollution in land, rivers, and ocean, unhealthy environment, diseases, sea level rises, displacement of people, and then again end up to suffering to many of these people. So how is the transparency practice? How can we prevent this corruption? I loosely define this transparent practice is an open and transparent communication and action system with understanding among all stakeholders, including their responsibility and accountability in a process in which there's a high degree of certainty that something desirable will be obtained or something undesirable will not be obtained. So in the case of corruption, we like something that we're trying to prevent corruption, and we don't want to have happen corruption. So my background with this transparent practice that I developed basically is the extension of my experience, industrial experience in the pharmaceutical, and the food technology, and also some of the quality management. For example, in manufacturing pharmaceutical product, we try to eliminate any impurity going into the product. So this is undesirable thing that we do not want to be in our product. So we make in every effort not to have this impurity coming to the product. So a lot of these things actually has been done in the quality management, including, for example, the space travel. They want to make sure there is nothing contaminating the space shuttle, for example. So all these things, what I did basically to develop, to modify, to have it applied to anti-corruption program. And then in that sense, is a transparency process. And that transparency process, including a lot of variety area that we can apply, and it is flexible in nature. In other words, transparency for pollution, for example, is different than transparency and the corruption of money, for example. So we have to have some kind of modification in some of the situations. We have to see what the situation, how they are vary among application. So to continue on is basically to prevent corruption again, to detect early corruption, to investigate any deviation and to resolve it, to be preventive as well as reactive, and then monitor and to track, to utilize best available technology. So this is again, we'll be basing it on technology. So whatever the tracking, the monitoring, the reporting, or the checking, looking at this critical point, they're all based on the best available technology that we will have to apply. Okay, what are the components for the transparency practice? First of all this step has to be documented. So it has to be written completely. So basically we have stakeholders. All stakeholders must be involved, whether they are people, communities, or whether the high-level official, for example. And then we have agreement, understanding, regulation. This could be government regulation. This could be an agreement among parties. Responsibility and accountability. Then during the process, during the execution of this transparency practice, we have standard operating procedure. This is a procedure that we have to follow in order to do some certain standard thing. For example, maybe submitting money to the bank, depositing money to the bank, taking money from the bank. How do we have to do it? Maybe we have to have some witness, for example, and how do we report to the third party monitoring for anti-corruption committee, for example. So all these things is a standard operating procedure. Then we have operational procedure. This is the execution of the procedure during the execution of the project or process. So this is where we do day-to-day what's happening when we have, for example, money given to the village head, for example, and how this being spent, whether it is buying a bridge or building a road. They have to know where all the money goes, what quality of product being built, and then each specification of the product will be checked, will be monitored, how they are being spent, the money, and so on. So this has to be very detailed. There is no way for any loose or any hole that one can take out the money, for example. There is no way that one can do such thing, for example, to lower the quality of the product so that they can get some profit out of it. We will check it. We will completely cover all the angles, in other words. And then will be that will be the operational procedure. And then we will monitoring. We have scheduled or unscheduled check, evaluation check, progress report, control, check critical step. This may be when For example, we receiving the funding when we deposited the funding or when we spend the funding. And then investigation of any deviation, as I say, resolve any deviation, summary, review, and lesson learned and improvement. Okay, so let's look in the schematic way here. This is for high level or grand level corruption. This is, for example, in the government institution, maybe with high level staff, they obtain money, budget, and they're spending usually for any particular program that has been designed, has been approved. So all these things is fine, but then we try to avoid or prevent any corruption taken out. So this is how the transparency practice will be implemented. So again, the stakeholder will be the head of the institution, including everybody, high-level staff, people, yes, including the community that involved in receiving this money. Agreement, responsibility, again, the same. Accountability, monitoring, they're all the same. Scheduling, evaluation, check for any deviation. Okay, the next one will be this example of the procurement to purchase of items or maybe services. Then again, we have the same thing. All stakeholders has to be involved in agreement and responsibility as well as accountability. Operational procedure will be there. What we have to do day to day. We have SOP, operational procedure, investigation and correction, and periodic check, a critical step, and evaluate. And again, always monitoring. So there are a lot of similarity in doing this. This is, for example, for the if we have a contractor or third-party supplier, we will check them how they supply the raw material to make the bridge, for example. What kind of iron that they're using for the metal that they're using. All these things will be checked for the supplier. So there is no way for any possibility of leak in this situation. This is example of maybe funding given to a village. So we have a provider, funding provider, we have manager and a contractor for some task to be done, procurement, period again, monitoring completely, and all the stakeholder are including the communities. We investigate any deviation, any discrepancy between money, for example, deposit and so on. We have a project, then we have project completion, final check, and then we're talking about warranty and maintenance, and then the project is given to the community. So this is all is checked. So basically, those are certain aspects of transparency in an effort to eradicate corruption. And next, what I would like to talk is actually climate change, transparency. How do we do transparency on the climate change? We know that increasing concentration of greenhouse gases, particularly CO2, is the culprit in the global warming that will in turn becoming all this climate change that we experience right now become worse and worse. We also would like to lower the emission of this greenhouse gas. Transparent practice is then to prevent high or unnecessary emission of greenhouse gases. Sources for greenhouse gases, according to study by EPA and also IPCC, International Panel for Climate Change. Basically, the carbon dioxide from fossil fuel use, there will be including your cars, industrial manufacturing and processes, deforestation, land clearing, degradation of soil. That's 65%. And then we have CO2 also based on forestry and other land use. That's 11%. So the CO2 for the both of them are already 80% of the GHG. So it's something that very majority of the gas CO2. And then we have CH4, methane, that agricultural activities, waste management, energy use, and biomass burning. So this is a 16%. Although relatively low, actually they are one of the most dangerous gases because it's very reactive. So CH4 is also something we should be concerned about. So altogether, they are about approximately almost 90% actually. And then N2O and then fluorinated gases in the smaller amount. So that's a good transparency practice. How about the land clearing? When a company to open a land or community to open land or even individual to open land, in most cases, they like to burn it. Through burning, it will be cheaper, easier. But that will be the worst case as far as CO2 emission and so on. So how do we have it control in doing so? So in this case, the stakeholder will be the company that own the land. They will be the stakeholder, a community nearby, government, local government, central government, local fire department. So all these things are stakeholders that will be responsible for whatever they're supposed to be assigned to. And then we also has an agreement that company or landowner must have a capability of extinguishing potential fires by themselves. Also, they are responsible to detect initial fire, initial hotspot fire, and immediately they have to extinguish this fire. First they have to monitor if there's any fire. Once there is a fire, they have to identify the fire, and then they have to inform everybody, inform all the stakeholders about this initial fire, so that everybody can be quickly extinguish this fire. So the idea here is this company who actually have this land, actually the one monitoring if there's any fire start up. And then we will use best available technology for locating the initial fire, whether with IR, infrared maybe, or other detection technology for fires. And also the method to extinguish, we could be even using the drones or maybe some light plan, whatever the thing that's needed to quickly extinguish the fire, will do it. Company must have a sponsor carbon offset replacement activity. This may be replanting, maybe reforestation, maybe carbon exchange program at nearby or other location or international location. Maybe this is the money that can be used to help the poor, to help to assist the poor in their trying to have the economic improvement. So again, this has to be monitored and documented throughout the process. So with this kind of arrangement, it is not likely this company will burn the land. They are being monitored. They have to be responsible and they are accountable for this thing. So this is one of the things in terms of the reducing the CO2 from the illegal forest burning. And then we have the industrial processes. So in these industrial processes, actually, again, there has to be transparent process, must be documented again. The stakeholder will be the company, nearby communities, local government, central government, local and central environmental agency. Company must determine and state how much CO2 and other pollutants are being emitted by their factory, by their processes. It must be checked and confirmed independently. In other words, this company will have to tell us what kind of raw material they buy to use in their process, and then how much actually becoming the product, how much actually becoming waste, how much actually being emitted to the air, how much actually emitted to the maybe river after the neutralization. It has to be neutralized. So and maybe some some of them being exposed, discard to the ocean. They have to have all this in detail, so we know how much actually they are being emitted, whether it is CO2 or maybe other dangerous chemical that may be disposed to the river illegally, for example. We try to avoid that, to prevent that. So any waste to be discharged into the river, ocean, or landfill must be evaluated for safety, human safety, and environment safety. Any proper neutralization must be done. And we have to determine how much amount and how often this thing being processed. So again, this has to be complete. Any possible method or to eliminate the CO2 should be implemented whenever possible. So again, the company should make carbon offset replacement activities, as I mentioned before, whether to help the poor in some international location, and so that at least what they call carbon exchange can be done. Okay, so this is the main issue. And then the one I just would like to mention here is about electric vehicle and gasoline vehicle. Actually, EV, electric vehicle, has no tailpipe emission. So this is best as far as individual car pollution compared to gasoline cars that emitted gas CO2 all the time. But we have to keep in mind also that the charge, when we charging electric vehicle, actually we obtain this charge from the power plant. And the power plant is using either natural gas or coal, which themselves emitting CO2. So actually they are not completely clean either. But actually this is associated with how much actually the power plant utilize the solar and the wind energy, which are right now, I think they are not many. They are not much being incorporated into their production of the power. So in other words, I think they are basically still emphasizing on the CO2 based natural gas or coal right now. And we need to do a lot more incorporation of the wind power and solar power. The problem is mainly, I understand, is one is storage, the energy storage that has to be developed with large scale storage, so that once you can get large scale storage, then you can use the electricity being stored to fill up your electric vehicle. So this is something that I think need to be researched, need to be developed. And I think what I would like to suggest is that maybe this is the time where we can do a technology transfer between developed countries and developing countries, even a poorer country, in the underdeveloped countries. Let each of us provide education, technology education, for them to evaluate, for them to research, for them to develop things associated with the reduction in CO2. Let everybody working, let's have any knowledge transfer whenever possible, so that this process of converting, becoming CO2 free emission can be achieved. Because the way it is now, looks like a lot of us are doing like business as usual, which is actually very bad right now. IPCC has developed this curve, saying that if you do the way you do business right now, pretty soon the temperature of the ocean will be higher and higher. And all this ice maybe will be melted in the North Pole and South Pole. And then the rise in the sea level is becoming worse. And then the weather becoming warmer. And I think in some of the area, like in the south of Madagascar, the green becoming the brown sand right now, cannot be used for agriculture anymore. So we have to think of all these things. But the fact is right now, it's not really significant effort that being done to really lower the CO2. So maybe what we have to do is a lot more strict in terms of this emission of CO2 all over the world. Any factory that, anything that majority of the emission coming from this source has to be checked, has to be monitored, has to be given responsibility and accountability, so that they can be, that we know how much they emitted. So we will check with their commitment, for example. So this has to be done. Otherwise, can you think about a situation where what they call it sometimes point of no return? I mean, once you get to that point, which nobody know really, what point is that? What temperature of ocean? There will be no return, where everything will be just keep going up, regardless whether we take out CO2 or not. This will be a very dangerous situation. And the thing is something that we have to always have a full effort in trying to mitigate this CO2 problem. So I think it's super critical in my opinion. Other global situation that I think require transparent practice is that migrant worker. We need to understand the status of migrant worker, how they are being paid, how they are being, how many days a week they are off, all these social aspect of the migrant worker. And then we have human trafficking. Can you imagine somebody going to a village and then recruit some young girls or maybe some young women, promising the job outside the country, for example, without nobody knows about it? So let's have a government assign or identify who are these recruiter, so they can register with the government, and then they have to report to the village head, the head of the village, to register saying, I would like to recruit this several people to work at this location, to work at what kind of position, so that they know who is the boss are, will be in that location. And these people has to keep responsible all the time until they are going back to the village. They cannot be just leave it in that employer and then simply forget about them. No, they have to make sure that they get paid every month, make sure that they can easily send the money to their maybe family in the village. So all these things has to be done, again, monitor and check and recheck. So this is a part of the transparency practice. We're talking about land, air, and river and ocean pollution, plastic pollution. How can we prevent it? Maybe we have to make sure some kind of separation between plastic and household waste in more disciplined way. And then we're talking about good government, including of course, the corruption in the government. And then we're talking about food and water insecurity. We're talking about how the weather is associated with CO2, how this weather affecting, of course, the agriculture production. So, and many more that we can put this transparency practice implemented. And the main point is how our kind of commitment to do this. What is our willpower to do this? It is, I think, the most important right now. So I think with that, I'll try to thank you. And I'd like to answer any question you might have. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Owen Rusli. Thank you very much. We would like to entertain questions right now without wasting much of our time. Hello, everyone.
Should I take the question, Dr. Kalima, please?
In 1 minute. Please.
Can you, the moderator, please?
Can I ask?
Is somebody looking for me? This is Dr. Kalima.
Oh.
Okay. Yes, it's. Can I continue to ask a question, moderator?
Yes, please go ahead, ma'am. In 1 minute, I'm going to return your question to you.
Okay, Dr. Rosalie, thank you so much. For introduction's sake, my name is Juliet Miabo. I'm based in South Africa. I'm part of Global Unity Net. In South Africa, I work with the Soweto CSI Council, Todd's and Kids, and I work with various programs for women and children. One of the questions that is happening now is the whole issue of when we have a government like ourselves. I'm sure you've seen in the media that we've had various commissions where the issue of corruption is being dealt with. We have our President Ramaphosa, taking it upon himself to make sure that to make sure that he roots out corruption. Sorry, Malak.
Everyone, please mute your mic. Everybody, please mute your mic. Mute your microphone, please. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, let me unmute myself. All right. As I was saying that we have a president that has taken it upon himself to root out corruption. So we have now during COVID, we have an issue of the 500 billion scandal that was the corruption that was done by government officials. Though people will be arrested and commissions are happening, one of the questions that I'm asking and that we're seeing in our society is that because of that 500 billion scandal that was done by government and government officials, we have a culture now that is coming up at different levels of society and local government where people are now being very relaxed and they're now using that as an excuse to say they can now justify their corrupt ways. So I'd like to ask, I know it might be more philosophical, I'd like us to look at maybe how do we intervene almost at a moral or philosophical level of saying we need to change the mindset, because at times we need to fix the mindset in order for us to monitor that there's no corruption and then there's transparency. So I don't know if you've experienced anything like that, and how can you help a country like ours, South Africa? Thank you.
Okay, basically, if I would like to make it a very shocking way, I think if you would like to have something that is completely new, for example, on the background of this corruption, why don't, for example, the president make the announcement right now? From now on, this will be an open type issue as far as the funding. So whatever the project they have, opening up to the public. This is the amount of money that we have. This is the amount of money that we are going to give to the village, for example. This amount of money we want to give to the vaccination. So all these things is an open to the public, to everybody in this in the country. And then also following up with any spending, anything that being done, follow that money, maybe with the third party, independent party, to also monitor in terms of sophisticated way. For example, through software, through accounting software, so that they can check, they can trace the money, they can track the money where it is go. So make that kind of a commitment, very strong commitment on this initial next step, for example. And then also you make sure that this accountability is being implemented. If somebody given responsibility of managing this money and there's something wrong happened, then we have to point out to that person or a group of person what happened, and then they have to accountable to that action. So again, this is, and also most important is anyone is found to be corrupting the system, then they have to be punished. The punishment should be in such a way that they don't want to do it again. For example, they have to send back the money maybe twice. I don't know what should be a best way to do this, but I think basically you would like to have such a way that the person or maybe other people, when they see it, then they think twice if they want to do that. And probably the most important thing that everybody can see this, and then use this as an example, something that will be done in a clean manner. I hope that will be something.
Thank you very much, sir. I hope he has answered you, Mom.
Yes, no, very much. They really help a lot. Thank you so much, moderator and Dr. Rusu.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so we have you see Dr. Kalima raising up her hand. Is she here? Dr. Kalima is she raising up your hand? Is there any question to her?
Yes, Dr. Kalim is here. I did have a question, and it's going to be brief because I know we all have to go. I just have two comments. Dr. Iran.
Yes.
Excellent process. It reminds me of what the United States does with blockchain, which is what I really appreciate listening to your modus operandi, because the way they've implemented blockchain when Donald Trump was in office, the founder of it, Yoko Matakawa, is from Japan. I had a meeting with her face to face at the UN for her to explain to me the blockchain process and how it would be implemented in the USA government. And they put it in the system to prevent theft, to make sure if a person applies for social services one time, they only have one account, and they're not going to different states to apply like they used to, which was raping the economy when you have multiple social services accounts getting food stamps in different states and things like that. Blockchain stops it. Another thing that I like that you did is because when my company would send donations through FEMA to help out the poor internationally, we noticed, because people kept lying and saying that the UN doesn't help, they are liars, they don't do this, they don't do that. And so I sent some staff to Puerto Rico when the hurricane happened. I wanted them to show me what they saw when the barges pulled up with the food and all of the booty that was supposed to be for the poor, to help. And we learned that just like in the USA, if you come from a homeless shelter here and you're in the shelter, the places like City Harvest will deliver food and stuff to you at the shelter. The staff was raping the stuff before the poor ever got it. They was looking through the stuff first before they called the poor to come get what was there. So the same thing happened in Puerto Rico. The barges pulled up, and when they pulled up, the government personnel picked up with their own trucks and left the scraps on the barge for the poor. So blockchain essentially is designed to prevent that. And I had always told the UN, you gotta send security with FEMA so that when the barges show up, they can't just grab what they want. They have to get what is designated to them prior to it ever arriving. So I like what you're laying out, because I think it's going to prevent a lot of the stuff that I just mentioned going forward. And then you got to put that stipulation in there, like you said, about the fear of if they do it, then there's consequences that will have to happen if they do it. Right now, there's nothing in place for that. That's why Red Cross and FEMA gets ripped off so much. So thank you for such a clear and concise explanation of what you are offering technological wise. It's a great and brilliant piece of work. And I would like to incorporate some of it into the SAFE campaign, because we already have
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Would like to
Thank you very much, Dr. Kalima.
We'll take the next question from Gabriela Malaika. Is she here? Gabriela, please. We'd like to have you in 1 minute. Please. 1 minute. Be very quick with your question, please. Gabriela, do we have you here?
Yes, I'm here. I hope I'm clear enough.
Yes, please introduce
Okay,
yourself first. Please introduce yourself first, and then go ahead with your brief question. Thank you.
I'm called Malaika Gabriela Ligami from Uganda, founder and executive director at DAFOA, an aged care organization that supports and advocates for the elderly, 60 years and above, and the orphan and vulnerable children under their care. My question is to Dr. Rusley. Thank you so much for the presentation and for opening our eyes. So my question is, as Rosalie Institute, how do you tackle government? Example, when you bring the grants or the funds to a nation or to a country for a particular project, because I'm talking on behalf of, I'm talking because of the experience I have for Africa. So governments will tend to come in, they corrupt government leaders like on every level. If you go to community, we have those as well at the district level, the provincial level, up to the top level, whereby you have to give something small to these officers for your project to start or for them to speak good about your organization or your project or what you're doing. So when you go back to the funder or to the donor, you have to balance out your books, because the monies or the funds that were given in, actually it has to work for what it was meant to be. If it was poverty elevation, it has to be for that. But I've found many organizations, they tend to, they fail to balance out between the funder and the government, because they want to excite both parties. But in your presentation, you are mentioning it that integrity is key and accountability is key. So if these grants have come in or the funds are coming in, and these government officials, because corruption is like order of the day, this organization or this group has to give them something small for them, maybe to have the land titles, maybe to have a project, maybe to have a school build, maybe to have a hospital build. Because we've seen it, monies have come in for maybe for a hospital, a community hospital to be built, or a community hospital to be equipped with the latest technology, equipment for maybe blood pressure, maybe for theater, for the delivery of the mothers. You find out that is not done. The latrines or the toilets are not improved, but the money is go to individual people's pockets. How do you cater for this to ensure that this goes even in the government officials' ears, that being transparent, integrity, and accountability for management for the poor, for the needy, for the vulnerable, is meant to do what it's supposed to do, but not for them to buy the big cars, to buy the estates within the countries and out of the country.
Thank
And
you. I think we
the
have your
second question, second question
briefly,
is my question. Briefly, my second question is, it's not a question, but it's a request. I was requesting, is it possible for you to share with us your presentation? Because like my network was not clear, I was in and out. If we can share, you can share your presentation with the host of the program. It's a request. Is it possible? Thank you so much.
Yeah, it is possible to. I'll send the copy of my slide, and then as far as the first one, yeah, it is challenging situation, especially when things has been done in the regular manner. Usually this is the way to do. So a couple things that you can do, for example. Yeah. Yes, first of all, maybe you want to expose your program. You tell, maybe if necessary, in an open situation, so that people knows how much you got money, how much is being spent for what program, and so on. Maybe if it is possible, maybe you can have an accountant that especially managing your money, so that when they're coming asking for the money, this is something beyond your, you cannot do much, for example. But also they have, if they are one of the leader in the community, for example, ask them to have their acknowledgement about your project. For example, if they are, for example, the head of the village, make sure that when you receive the money, inform them, this is what you got, have them record it or whatever, that they are aware about this money. And then every time you spend, you document it, and then present it to everybody, to all stakeholders, that this is what's left over, and we didn't do anything. And if they're still forcing you to do that, and you can just has it documented also, that some amount was taken out by Mr. X, Mrs. X, because we cannot do anything. So you cannot actually fight against that situation. But you just being honest to your funding provider that this is what happened, that some money was taken, although we tried to tell them not to do that. Just explain to them, Mr. ABC is forced us to give them money, for example. I don't know if this is in practice will be something easily doable. But the idea is to put it in the newspaper, how much money you have, how much being deposited, how much being spent for XYZ project. You don't need to mention any name, just for your project, your planning from start all the way to the end. So they know, everybody knows that this is the money and where to go, and see what kind of situation. And hopefully this will be, I think, in one way or another. I don't think they want to have their name, for example, being exposed of taking the money. So I think if something that you can do it and try to announce at the beginning about your project in a very honest way. So this is tell them everything, and then as they go along, you also keep every month you keep posting it. This is what happened, and if there's some administrative fee that you have to pay that you don't have any choice, just write down administrative for this office.
Thank you so much. Moderator, you have just one more hand raised, and then perhaps we can move to the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just one minute, please. Speak. Rogaita, are you with us? Hello, Rogaita.
Rugato Sese, are you there? Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
How are you? Good.
Thank you. Please make your introduction and your question brief. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Rugiato Sise from Sierra Leone, West Africa. I am the CEO of MADO organization, which means my Rural Development Organization, which I'm helping agriculture, education, human rights, and human rights. My question is about my country, Sierra Leone. We are the poor country like Sierra Leone. So I'm helping children. I'm helping children and women's empowerment. But the reason is that I'm trying to do my best and I'm doing all the things, my own money to help people. But the government of my country, they are so corrupt that they help in return to the people. The money they send, they never give us to give more help to the people. Like when they said you have to document all what you have done or what they give you anything to present to the poorest people. So my question is, the answer is because I heard they said you have to move on and ask question and go to the ministry and do all your stuff to know about the money. But my reason is raising my hands to ask this question. Our people in Sierra Leone under agriculture, it's so poor is that we don't have no help there. People are suffering in agriculture. People are suffering in education. So how can we do this to put things straight? So that if anything funds came from Sierra Leone, the right people are supposed to have them.
You mean where the funding is coming from?
Okay, right now the funding I do it from here because I'm living in the United States right now. I'm a nurse from United States, but I'm funding my people back home in Sierra Leone, West Africa, under my own money.
Okay, so you would like to, what would be the best way to have it direct to the person you intended to to give. Is that right?
Yeah, like the government, like when you register, because when you have organization, you have to register from the government, and the government is supposed to help the people when it show, because you have to have a certain amount of people that you do your registration under your organization. And if anything come from the organization, if anything come from the big organization to present it to the low people, the poorest people, they don't give they don't give the items, or they don't help. And it's like it's a form of corruption. So I don't know how can they attack. How can I do to attack it?
Erwin, excuse me,
Yes.
but in the chat, I did put the information there. There is only one organization that's set up to handle this at the macro level. But my suggestion again is that we all collaborate together and unify ourselves as a unit so that our voices can be heard on a higher plane and level. But I would have to ask that we close this out and move to our final presentation. I'll turn it back over to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So quickly,
Yeah,
I would like to say-
you may contact me, I guess. We can communicate later on.
No problem. Okay, I will. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you for this one. So right now, we're about to round up the program. Right now, we'd like every one of us, one after the other, to unmute your mic. We'd like to see you on the video. In 30 seconds, just say one or two things. Let's start with Prophet Anyao. We'd like to see you. We'd like to hear your voice. In 30 seconds, please. Is Dr. Prophet Anyao here? Prophet Anyao, do we have you?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, please, go ahead. Go ahead, ma'am.
No. I didn't have my hand up. I'm sorry. What are you needing?
You say one or two things in 30 seconds. We'd like
And you're
to
kind of
have you
breaking. You're breaking
on
up
the
on my internet. I don't know if it's my internet or yours, but you're breaking up, so I'm not getting your instructions clearly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear
Can
you.
you
It's just that it's a little broken up a bit. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now? Hello, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It's just the breaking up.
Yes, she's asking everyone to please open your mics and open your videos so we can see you and then be able to engage with you. That is what she's asking.
And I'm not able to do that today. I had some dysfunction of my camera.
For those
Yes.
that are able.
Okay.
All
All right. Thank you. I need to buy a new camera. I'm sorry. Did you have a question for me though?
No question. No question.
But I've really enjoyed this, so thank you so much for having this.
You're welcome. Can we have Rugai too? In 30 seconds, can we have you? Just say anything or hello or what? Anything you have to say in 30 seconds.
Hello, Rugiatu. Sisi, hi.
Hi. Thank you very much.
Thank you to
We have Omar Adamu.
Thank you
We
very
have
much.
Adamu. Can we see you? Can we see you? We can see you.
Yes, I'm on.
Can we just wave your hand?
Yeah, I'm on the line. I'm on the line. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Juliet, we have can
Hi.
we see you too? Hello.
Hi. Hi, Juliet from South Africa.
Thank you. Can we have Ahmed Salim? Ahmed Salim. Do we have you here? Ahmed Salim.
Unmute yourself and talk to us. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Okay. We can unmute ourselves to hear from us, please.
Shaker, where are you? Did I see who's there?
I'm right here.
Well, unmute, give us your video. Tell us hello.
Oh, wow.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Greetings from Ghana.
Hi.
Lloyd, we'd like to see you all. Just wave your hands. We'd like to see everybody.
Thank you. Hello, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
At the junction, I would like to say thank you.
I left my WhatsApp. So Regiato Sisi, just WhatsApp me. We will follow up after that.
Yes.
No problem. Okay, I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Ambassador Lloyd, FT. Ambassador Lloyd, I must say thank you for coming on board and giving us this opportunity coming together. You know, I know you're supposed to have your program today, the Global Unity Network, but because of oneness in humanitarianism, he has to come and join us today to make this program a unique one. So we are saying thank you to you, Ambassador Lloyd Aveti. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you and all that have joined us today from Global Unity Network. Thank you so much. We appreciate you all from all over the world. We can't mention all the names. So that's what the moderator has been trying to do to see all of us. We have different people from different countries. So we appreciate you for coming on board to join us in today's program. So thank you so much. Ambassador Andrew, please, would you like to say something to round up this program?
Well, yes.
Well,
thank you so much, and thank everyone for joining us. This is, in fact, an event that's hosted by the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, AHIABGA, and we have to thank all of our participants here because over the years, you have, in fact, been part of our family. So this weekly meeting that's normally held at this time will be going on for the next year and a half. So every week at the same time, we'll be here, and we're inviting everyone to join Lloyd Hoferty and our team here for our Indigenous Global Unity Network. So thank you very much. Oh, please, everyone add your contact information in the chat and email if you want to get a follow-up of this and also for any additional conversations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
And also, if anyone likes to be a speaker in our next program, you can easily contact us through Ambassador Andrew or Ambassador Lloyd, or you can text us on our email. It shall be dropped on the contact now on the chat. So thank you so much for having you all from all over the world. Some are still joining us. I can see Ruth. Some are still coming in. It's already late. We are already rounding up. So thank you so much for today's program. Ahmed Salam, it's a pleasure seeing you. Ahmed Salam,
pleasure to meet you too. Have a good time. Congratulations to all of you.
That's it from
Hey, look at you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Gabriela, Malaika, everybody, thank you so much. We couldn't say Stephen Sola's face, but we welcome you. And Cassandra, thank you so much for coming. I can see wonderful people. Patrick, we appreciate everyone coming. Allah Lawa, thank you for coming. So God bless you. We'll expect every one of you next time as we'll be coming on board here. So thank you. Over to you, the moderator, to round up this program.
Thank you.
Excellent work. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'd like to say goodbye. We'd like to say goodbye here at this point. So we'd like to invite our next program to next month. Thank you very much. And have a wonderful day.
Great work.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
It's been a great
I'm giving you a few moments to save the chat if you choose. You can save the chat if you choose. And also you can enter your contact information in the chat. Joseph Akinola is not with us, but he did update our new logo. So for those that you who see this symbol, it means that you're welcome wherever we are. And you can contact us at that email address for your own presentation or to schedule a presentation or to have us to promote your presentation. So we thank all of you and certainly do appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you.
Andrew.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm in darkness. I'm in darkness. Blackout.
Thank you so much.